Hey guys, welcome to the shop overhaul. Technically this is the part 2 video, but I wanted to talk about kind of what's going on, the organization strategy, the 4 steps. Like my 4 steps to this. Hopefully that keeps you going through your project. So really being sure to follow the ideas keeps you on track, keeps you from getting overwhelmed, and hopefully makes your project successful. So as I've been thinking about this, I've been trying to solidify what my philosophy behind this organization is. And we've all lately heard of Marie Kondo, but I'm not going to go through every single piece in the shop and ask myself or ask my dad if it brings us joy. That's not how we're going to figure out what stays and what goes or where it needs to go. So, but to help us start with this plan, the one thing that I will take from Marie Kondo's system is the first step is committing. Once you decide that you're going to do an overhaul or a remodel, you have to commit, because it takes a ton of energy and focus and willpower to get through a project like this. It's super easy to get bogged down, stuck, stopped, distracted, discouraged. So if you want to achieve an overhaul, or if you're building a new shop, great. But if you're really, I think the real challenge is if you're overhauling an existing space. So commit to the project. The next step is to plan. You measure your space. You saw my original drawing. If you didn't, go check out the first video. You saw my original SketchUp. It just had the rough cabinets and the big tools. The things that I knew were non-negotiable. I'm not going to build new cabinets. I'm not going to build new countertops. We're not getting rid of any of the major tooling. So you have to plan. What you didn't see in my original plan were, where are the doors located? Where are the windows located? Where are the thermostat? Where's the breaker box? Where are the outlets? Those kinds of things, which I had to start thinking about and considering in my updated one, because you'll see, if you remember my original plan, the oven and the tool chest were right next to each other. That doesn't work in reality, because there's only room for the oven over here, and we're trying not to put anything in front of either side of the door, so the tool chest has to go 8 feet away. So there's that kind of thing, where it's, you go through a rough draft and then you enhance it. My wife will tell you it's just like writing a paper. It's good to be married to an English teacher. You write and you revise and you write and you revise and you write and you revise, and then you get to a point where it's your finished product. So that was commit, plan. The third step is purge. This is where you have to go through, in this situation, all of the things that you don't need. You go through all of your tools, all of your scrap, all of your lump, whatever it is. Do you really need, how many times are you going to move that 2x4, that piece of iron, that tool that doesn't work that you've been meaning to fix? Well, is it really worth fixing at this point when you have new tools? In my mind, that's the indicator to be like, okay, it's time to let this go. That is what purge is. Like, your life is just going to be easier the less stuff you have. And I'm not advocating minimalism here. I'm not suggesting you just make all your projects with like a hammer and a nail and one chisel and a hand crank drill. No, I'm not preaching that kind of aesthetic. Commit, plan, purge. Fourth step is rebuild. And this is assuming that you're overhauling a space, not starting in a new space. So, admittedly, all of these steps aren't necessarily like you have to do one and then the other and then the next and then rebuild, and it's probably not a reality, especially if you're working in a space like this, or if you're a functioning shop. If you're if you're a production workshop that relies on your space to make a living, it's not feasible for you to shut down completely for a week or a month or a year. So you might have to do it in phases. But that's where your planning becomes even more critical. You have to plan out what your phases are. And you have to be a little bit, if there were a fifth step, I don't know that I really want to encounter this being a fifth step, but part of rebuilding is also being flexible. You make your plan, you start building a thing, and then you realize it doesn't work. Especially if you're or you're renovating, rehabbing, overhauling, and working and functioning as a production space at the same time, you might be getting direct feedback from your employees or from yourself that, hey, I need that tool over, you put it over there and I need it over here. And you either need to evaluate your process and be like, does the process need to change to fit where the tool is, or does the tool need to change to fit the process? But that's where you're now you're in the phase of, we're building new storage solutions, we're building shelves, we're building cabinets. If you need them, make your plan, stick to it, but also be flexible. All right, bear with me here while I figure out how to animate SketchUp. But this is kind of standing in the doorway of my dad's shop, getting a little walk around, and you'll see where all the major tools are going to be. The new idea for the rolling workbench, for the miter saw and jigsaw. We've got the sink back there in the corner, the drill press, carver, mobile workstations, and they get tucked into the side. The lathe is going to be the focus of the shop, but that's where we are. So yeah, so that's where we are. We're making progress. It's already starting. I added 4 new bulbs, and we took down some shelves that were made it feel smaller and cluttered in here. And I can't imagine what it's going to look like when we take down these cabinets. So, anyways, we'll see you next week. Until next time.